Good Pod Guide. Good Pod Guide. This is the Good Pod Guide, where you'll be pleased to hear I don't do any more singing. Instead, I, Lauren Windle, will guide you through the abundance of podcasts to help you hone in on your next obsession. Last place I went before I stopped drinking on holiday was Japan. And I had like a wild time in Japan. It was absolutely crazy. They've got quite a lot of drink all you can for the equivalent of about £10, like karaoke bars and things like that, because culturally they don't drink as much as we do in Britain. So that wouldn't sort of like, have them out of house and home. But then I obviously saw that as the same sort of challenge as my brother-in-law does an all-you-can-eat buffet. And I went for it, particularly, given that I was at the height of my alcoholism at the time. So really hit that hard. I don't remember all of Japan, but I do remember going to a maid cafe where a woman, who was definitely a woman, but dressed up to look like a schoolgirl, served me coffees. And then also I paid to have her play a game with me, and we played Hungry Hippos. I think I won, but I think she let me. And at the time I did wonder, is this okay or is it not? But who am I to question their traditions and culture? It did strike me as a little odd. What definitely struck me as odd was the dirty underwear that you can buy in vending machines. Although I do understand that that is something that is available worldwide on the internet from one of my friends who wrote a feature on it for a newspaper. Also, did you know this, right, about Japan? When they have, I don't know how I know this, I really don't, and I haven't watched it, but this is just something that I've picked up somewhere. When they have pornography, there's like a small dot that covers the main point of the action, as it were, where man and woman become one, or indeed, person and person become one, depending on the type of pornography that you are enjoying. So there's almost like the sort of key part taken out, but you don't have to do that in cartoons. So there's a massive like manga database of like pornography where they draw some of their more popular cartoon characters in sexual positions because they don't need to censor it in the same way. And I remember there being a whole floor dedicated to this erotic material in a massive comic book shop that I went to. So yeah, I have been fascinated by Japanese culture for a long time, ever since I went and got plastered over there for 2 weeks back in 2014. So I was super excited to listen to Uncanny Japan. And I actually thought it'd be going through some of the more modern culture things, like the stuff I've gone through. I know the suicide rates there are really high, those kind of things. Actually, it's not. The Uncanny Japan is a podcast by a fiction writer who lives in Japan. Her name's Thersa Matsuura, and she explores anything weird, but it's more like folklore and oddities and language quirks. So things that I haven't delved into before. And it is fascinating. Like, for example, did you know that the difference between Japanese ghosts and other countries' ghosts is that the Japanese ones don't have legs? Who knew? Also, it's not common for Japanese people to get their ears pierced. In fact, if you did decide to get your ears pierced in Japan, you would have to go to a doctor or a dermatologist. Sorry, I'm laughing because in my notes I've written a doctor or a gynecologist, which is not right. So I must have been tired when I was writing that. Doctor or a dermatologist, just to be clear, if anyone's in Tokyo and looking to get their lobes done. Anyway, they also have this old wives' tale that when you get your ears pierced, or some people when they get their ears pierced, they get this like white thread that comes out of their ear. And if you cut it, you go blind. What's all that about? Absolutely enthralled by this. She also told oh my gosh, there's a few of these folklore stories. And I'm sorry, these are scarier than the horror podcast that we've covered. Like, I listened to this in the dark and was like, I'm just going to have to turn the light on. So there's this woman with her mouth cut from ear to ear going around killing people. And she sort of talks through, oh my goodness, it's so creepy. But actually it was proven to be untrue. But still doesn't mean that it hasn't haunted my nightmares ever since I heard it. You can hear the background noise of where she is in Japan as she records, which I really loved. So depending on the season, you can hear winter ocean waves, spring frogs in rice fields, summer festivals or insects. There are 70 or so episodes, and they start short and stay short. What about that, guys? About 15 minutes each. If I was editing this episode, I would now cut in that sound clip of like, hallelujah, 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 because that is exactly what I like about podcast. Someone who keeps it brief and sticks with that brevity. I just love the opportunity to explore another culture. And I have to say, there are a few cultures I find more fascinating than Japanese, with its traditions and histories. It's so rich, but also so different to mine here in the UK. I'm 100% going to go back and listen to more of this. In the next episode, I go wild for a short story podcast with mind-blowing writing and production. Tune in to find out which one I'm talking about. More info is available in the show notes, and if you've enjoyed what you've heard, like, subscribe, and leave a positive review.